Hello everyone, I couldn't know why to come here, so this was a conqueror's journey. I have a bit of British accent, not much Bulgarian, so just spend the last stick there, so if we can't make something that I'm saying, just let me know and I probably repeat it. But I put a lot of slides together when the jury told you should do your, presentation 20 minutes. I said, please make it in break because it puts together almost 500 slides. Go into 50, so it's a bunch of information, actionable stuff that you can literally go and implement. If you have a team, if you have an agency already, by all means, just let them know. I would try to leave some space at the end for questions, but it's a lot of information because it's literally the entire system, which I call the Hourglass framework. Transparently, I didn't really develop anything. It was developed by John Gatz. But the way that I discovered it, same way that that's up. Get a little bit myself. So before I start even talking, let me tell you a way again. Like I know that was presented, but I built a civil beer agency when I was doing my master's degree in Glasgow. So that was like just a side. So that's some return to an agency. Hey, anyone who has an agency didn't have a dream to have an agency. I think just end up having an agency when you're a good marketer and the file post. But you suddenly start just like doing it, start for truly great call and then you don't want to leak them. This was 100 million when I did this version presentation. It was, the beginning of the year, probably it's small by now. But I worked with some brands that you may recognize. Current version is, a brand that all people knew. Perfect Whiteys, all around G-Pen, Sincho, Pulsetto, Victor Institute, and others. We're Rich founder. We're a platinum agency. It's with Hristov is a Klaviyo. It's almost exclusively with Klaviyo. We also work with Yopo and also Bastia Fulvi, CEO there for Reno agencies. And quite compatible gestures and Iceland, so it's good space and anyone is considering core. It's just someone. So that's about me. Here's why the precision is important. What would become we will talk here. But the airspace progress because more not expensive. This is a non-blacked meta reports or include or typically out 15% a year. And for good reason, most of us try to push prices every single year in inflation or mortality, so in nails. So really what that means is that the brands that are at bottom or not really increasing their spend have really 3 to 4 years to compete, especially they rely only on acquisition, which makes potentially even more important cookie-less worlds. We've been talking about living without cookies for a very, very long time. It's a world where people know that you have technology to personalize, but we don't really have technology to track as accurately as we used to be, in mostly Apple updates. It's a very saturated space. There's a huge competition. Everyone is trying to copy everyone. So every time you rely on doing what others do or working using the same strategies online, it's a race to the bottom, and it's very hard to stay consistent. And also, there's a huge scam culture in email. I think it's almost synonymous like spam in not Python. And it was associated with getting something that you don't want, but you get anyways because that's the only thing that you can get. So I actually brought the thesis on what makes email not spam in very simple terms. And the TLDR is that you treat it like a channel. You communicate directly with people and you really emphasize a one-on-one relationship with all these people. So that's why we tried to go with the Gettys discounts, and then also the customer fatigue of getting the same emails, getting through the noise. People get 150 emails a day. So how do you make read an email stick? How do you really get people to remember that message? Look, here's what we'll cover today. That's like this is why if you're interested, here's what we'll cover. I'll break it down into the framework stages. So I'll show you these 8 different stages in this Hourglass. They go through acquisition through retention, the raw email in the acquisition stages and also in the retention stages. Email is the main channel for retention. Also, there's also SMS, WhatsApp, and the back mail, and traditional media. But really, email is the main digital channel when it comes to retain new customers. We'll also set some, I'll show you how I define segments within those frameworks. I'll show you how we set goals and expectations for those segments so that you know exactly how to optimize work. Because what you don't measure, you can really improve. And I'll give you ready-to-use strategies and tactics. And I'll show you how we can leverage AI to increase we can use this to make sure that we are maximizing both audio metrics. And for all these examples, I have like good examples in case studies of stores and Web3, if doing 10 million a year to 100 million a year plus. So all these are real examples in this news or non-safe. So the problem with logic, in the words of Rory, Rory is the vice chairman of Overclocking. The problem with logic is that it gets to the same place as sales or networks. And we did take another picture 2 weeks ago in London as well. Both of us have been going even more about, but he's a wonderful fellow. So anyone who knows Brock, he's one of the most brilliant minds in marketing. And this is the real mini challenge. If you rely on discounts, the end Black Friday or your email results, it's time to really rethink. It's time to change. It's not how email is built, and it's a race model. Let's get into it. This is how I actually really discovered this. I didn't mean post. Like I'm 20-something-year-old from say up to school sound, but I basically wrote a LinkedIn course one day, and a lot of people resonate to this. If anyone posts on LinkedIn, know that any written solution is getting a formula. It's the thing. It was so surprising to me because I've been posting and anyone doing content, you just post it and nobody ever realizes. And suddenly people started talking about this and reposting and sharing. So I knew that there is something bigger to kiss and that people were interested. So I won't read the entire thing, but this is how I essentially discovered that post. And I've applied it since then with brands, but it's sponsored by Mike Tyson, here in Japan. We have Mood for Blender, we have Joe Brogan, Gil Converse, Protocol, Sintra AI. So it actually applies it to software as well, but within New Zealand spark across different verticals in the DTC space. These are the 8 different stages. So people go, and in this slide, this is different. Pretty much everyone knows of funnels, thanks to Russell Brunson, really, because he popularized it through his software. But what most people really think about email is that it's this bottom stage, and I argue that it's actually the beginning just of something a lot more beautiful and a lot more complex as well. So the benefits of the Hourglass is that it's going to help you grow your lifetime revenue. It's going to decrease the cost of acquisition. We're going to help you personalize at scale. So as you're going your ads, you're also going to be risk with personalizing. We're going to capture lost profits of people that are not anymore engaged, and we're going to help you also with your organic expansion. Let's start into it. This is the first section, the segment progress. It's a very early slide. I'm pretty well aware of it, but it has all of it in one place. So the goal of the no stage is to increase your sign-up rate. And as simple as that sounds, a lot of people just sleep on testing their platform. So this is very basic because just by capturing more of the traffic that already comes to your website, you are, based on your metrics, growing your revenue. And then this is a bunch of tests that you can try. From testing your offer to images to having logos to tires, different steps to having treatment steps to having mystery offer versus a revealed offer. To have traffic specific offers. The goal is to gradually get to at least 10% of your traffic. You see that we can go up to 20% depending on the tool and the setup of and how aggressive the pop-up is, and also the type of business. But I see a lot of people just not testing, and that is it's essentially how a lot of people just leave money on the table. And then the second biggest mistake is people not doing an enrichment. So Adia is the tool that I knocked really beta to mobile pre-found mobile results after starting to use them. And the Adia and the way that they cracked the space very similar to Wire is for just doing a bit of additional self-profiling in a more interactive form. So what that typically looks like is this. We've seen across bedding, to technology, to books, and also to apparel as well, that instead of saying, do you want an offer, you say, why do you want the offer, who you are. And this is essentially the cookie as well. So this is how people self-profile themselves when they sign up to the form. And it's our almost duty to personalize their experience. Because what a lot of people get after they sign up is the same email. It's almost all of the cases. And we try to argue that if you can push whatever people are coming for forward, then that increases the conversion rate of your weapon. And then this is an example. So let's say, I'm going to give you an example of a store. So let's say that they had 300,000 sessions a month. This is their traffic. Let's say that the LPO was about $100 and we get 10% of the leads to convert through the email. Well, you can just see the simple math. If you convert just 5% of the traffic, that really means that just that's change of the people or leads coming to the brand is resulting in number 8 million. But if you double your traffic, that goes to 2.6. And if you go up to 15%, and the up, that will impact on 4 million. So now they just fight to make a rigorous testing of your form, 1 million of increased revenue, which is really easy. Right? It's just changing picture with the image. It takes 3 seconds to change an image, and you can find like 2, 4, 5% increases just because something resonates more. One tactic that I really include here that I think is very valuable is to do it in seasonal images and messages. So whichever season it is, make sure that both actually changes in terms of the picture that is there, the messaging, the offer, and true scarcity is the best edge that you can have it because it's something is actually expired, whether it's been no promotion, some sort of collection. You can leverage that straight away. Next is the stage of the like. What we do at this stage, by the way, at any point, I'm trying to go through this. So the like stage is when we are now personalizing the look and flow. The whole thing that we are doing here is just focusing on the look and flow. We are going to also build the remainder of the flows and I'll talk to them about it. But the first thing that we're doing is making sure that in the form, the form that we collected from the website, we're using that information to enrich the people. And even though it's moving very quickly, in this particular case study, we saw people converting to 20% in their first email, and then we send 4 or 5 more emails to convert further, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5% of the people. So this is a very easy win. The only thing that we really did there was change the text block and the products, 3 or 4 products that we were showing underneath, and that really just tripled the conversion of all the emails. So it's an easy win. The next thing obviously is building the pre-purchase acquisition flows. Most of the people know the playbook because I think in the DTC space, the playbook for email has been pretty much the same in terms of the flows. Everyone knows that you need to have bundle checkout, you need to have your process abandonment. Some people are sleeping on the site abandonment. I want to bring here the copy that we're using with abstract data and sponsoring also this event because this was one of the biggest blocks of email of last year because it captures a lot more events. So the only change that we really did with the copy is cloning the flow and then making sure that people who receive the normal flows don't receive the abstractified flows and vice versa, which it's called abstract, but I know that's about abstract now, so there's some JDs, there's a branding, but it's the same tool. And the reason for that is that Clayu's cookie expires after 7 days, meaning all of your flows that you're going to build are going to expire after 7 days in terms of tracking. And you're not sending regularly emails. You're basically just building all of that work and having it stay there because it's not going to anyone all the time engaged in the last 7 days. And that's why tracking is really important of tools like Upside. There's a few additional flows of not all people know, like a category abandonment, search abandonment, and also low inventory alerts and price drops and in stock. This can also be in the post-purchase space, but I'm throwing it here because you effectively can remind it to everyone depending on the stage of the website that they are. And the log here really is to market people just based on when they drop those. So because people are going to come and they cannot stop at every single stage, you can have multiple drop-offs based on the purchase activity. So by starting with the main ones and then gradually building into them, you are optimizing for the entire BA where you're remote thinking. That's what actually is dropping the costs of Meta. And so this is an example. It's a mock-up of hints we create, like what you and I created. You know, so just to show you what we would do. If let's just say that a random 28-year-old person was exploring how the tools use here and will correct his wedding. It's, you know, you go to him, sees you all this based personalization that is happening on the website. If you get an email that doesn't like this, you just get an email saying, hey, thanks for joining. But even if you say this is our story, does that really coffee? It's very easy to actually do this dynamic party post with age, air type, stress. You just plug in the properties that you just collect, and obviously you can collect multiple voyages. So by personalizing to people and also having a dynamic bestseller book, in this case it's pre-built, so you don't even need to do those changes. You can have already your improvements, and this is really low effort, but it's already taking that next step because nobody, and as enemy nobody, I'm auditing accounts every single week. I didn't last 5 months I've audited probably over 200 accounts, almost like the amount of accounts that I've seen do an actual presentation of what info were 3. So that's why I'm saying that these are wins that are being used by literally 5 agencies, and 3 of them we are using Clayton, Ruben, so all the weekends we know each other. So this is a tactic number 2 for how to grow. This is perfect email. It's well, it wasn't expected, like from especially from like brown people perfect, but because they know that we've discussed this, and it's very abrasive. But like you send to the email, 1 hour later you can get another email. So we are sending multiple emails, but we are using different formats. So instead of like trying to do everything in the first email, we give people what they can. We tell them like, here's the offer. Like this is perfect. And underneath we have a few collections on the software that the part of the email. But 1 hour later we say, hey, this is Jen, listen, let the co-founders, since we're in here, we are building a company for you. And this is the anatomy of plaintiffs and how we structure it. So plain checks, just as a really small insert here, are actually go for anyone who's in any industry. A lot of people think that just because fashion, for example, is very visual, very creative, you can really use plaintiffs. But I will argue that even like this in the previous slide, we were doing about 2 to 3% immediately after the first last email that was going out, just by sending a text message. What this does is a few different things. The first one is that it helps you with deliverability. The second thing is that it breaks the pattern. And the third thing is that it actually makes people read. And if you think about it from Gmail's perspective, their clients are all of us, pretty much all of us, and maybe some people were. It's to one but most of us on Gmail want to have the best customer experience. And that means that we want to read the emails. We don't want to be promoted. We want to get some sort of one-on-one interaction. So when you send this goes so much further into deliverability for you, and you get someone's attention knowing that, hey, this is actually a brand with real people send messages. It's not just someone might be overseas, maybe $5, not send me the latest images on triple someone launched. So we start with a personalization. We go with the founder, so we introduce ourselves, and then we go into a story point. We tend to use the problem management solution, which is the most famous copywriting word, and we say, this is what was wrong with the market, and this is how our product is here. We try to throw in hyperlinks sporadically so that people basically we can get a click, because the click is what the email is selling, not the revenue. People need to go to a website in order to purchase, not vice versa. Yet it's been going to many years that people will be able to purchase in the emails, and the technology technically is there, but nobody's using it because it's or the other clients. So we go through this framework for literally any vertical. And then we would say, this is how our solution came into the market, and this is what we are happy with what we're doing. We incentivize the reply. So this is another tactic within all of these tactics. We want people to reply. You might notice that I'm not pushing people to the sale. I'm saying, tell me your story. Here's our story. We're trying to build some sort of relationship. And we do this in the post-purchase, in the welcome flow, we do this in the abandoned cart. We send sporadically these plain tests in almost 40 to 60 or 70 per year, depending on the run, way and split, so that we can get people replying and engaging to us. Because here's what's happened. If you send an email to someone else, sends an email by 30 minutes upon the promotions folder, which is huge. You just get 10 times more views for the same email, which again makes you more profitable. And we say, we get a signature, and there's 2 elements that if there's email markers here, we'll publish to. And that is that we have a PS section that has a dynamic date. So to basically say, you have a discount, but that's valid only for the next 3 days, being listener flow. So this is going to be dynamic, and it's quite cool to throw that into the email because it creates one more sparsity and makes it seem like a person went and bought that email, which is what I don't think that happens. Cool. So that's useful. Anyone found it useful? Okay. I see your presentations, and I'm glad that is very helpful somewhat. So here's a case study. This is just a welcome call of any kind. Like it's not the same but what we saw before. This is for fun period to see it's like pretty much like July to July. And we applied this framework to that for the tool that we're using is called Hero Analytics. And in that period, we almost hit 1 million more in revenue, 801,000. For it's a bit more specific to the details by using like the same flow. It was the same flow with adding these additional emails and these additional variables, and we increased basically without any more emails, but having also a bit more traffic. We increase the actual revenue, which you can see at the bottom as well, based on the revenue per receipt and between the two. Cool. Draw stage. This is when we tried everything. We tried to personalize in the workflow. We have all the additional flows. Transparently, I still have only like 5-30 minutes to talk through this. So there is a whole study of all of the flows, but I wanted to show you the quick that you can do it the welcome flow. But we already built now our entire pre-purchase flows instruction. People are coming to the website, they're hit with their product, they're being hit with their searches, with their carts, with all kinds of messages, claim text, dynamic, and then these two don't purchase. And we've hidden here day 0 because that's when the majority of people purchase. But this is the real trajectory when your leads are done a purchase. And every single day after the first 14 or so, even for the first 7 days, is going down in likelihood of someone purchasing. Meaning, if you message people beyond 30-day window of engagement, chances are that it's going to bad things for you. It's going to ruin your deliverability. That deliverability is that are going to affect your customer revenue because that's going to majority of those purchases that are coming in new campaigns. And then also, you can be paying for people who are never going to purchase. As much as that says to here, we found that there are a few flows that we throw in, but for the most part, we don't really message the leads that subscribe to the list for 30 days. We will try direct mail, and we will try to hit them again with ads after a certain window of time. And the flows, but for the most part, we isolate the leads and assessing and campaigns. And the goal here is to convert as many of those remaining leads as possible. And even if it's like a small increase of 500K, it's not that to be talking for the revenue of this, but you can still find some incremental gains. And the metric that I've positioned here is that usually hitting about 1% of this click rate in your campaigns. That is going to vary based on your engagement window and who you're sending to. Typically, if you look into the segment breakdown of your segments and who you're sending, you will see that your customers will be having twice the tax higher click. But the goal is to balance between leads and customers and who you're sending to, so that you stay in a healthy relationship and reputation while being able to message the most amount of people that are engaged in the short amount of time. Some tips: immediate plans 3 to 5 times a week. It's a must. Anyone doing less, it's just not doing enough. I've seen brands doing way more than this. During special days, we might just send in the same day. It's a little bit, of course, like more settings in an isolated way, but one of the easiest ways to do ordinance just by sending more emails, and people won't get accurate. So one that you actually send good and relevant content to people. And I will show you now a few more things to test and to do. So this is from the marketing metrics. Transparently, this is relevant for organic as well and for your other channels. But we try to send as much content and be relevant to people in the educate, inspire, entertain stages to about like 80% of the content. And then 20% will be our convince part, meaning we are asking for a sale. So in the editorial stage, you see that we're using quizzes and parallels and games and videos and competitors. So we are just trying to get people to pay attention to us. In the inspire stage, we are putting people of influence, like celebrities. We would show the forums, the reviews. So we want to build ourselves up in terms of being the leader for people. In the duplicate space, we are doing all of our blog articles and application and comparisons. So again, like show that this is the thing that is right for them. And obviously into the convince stage, that's when we're doing products and case studies and do some sort of interaction or showing people using products. This is when we're just strictly talking, here's how to publish some usually. Great, so this is 30 A/B tests that I recommend doing, split across strategies, subject lines, from reviews, construction, visual creating. Again, testing is probably one of the main ways that we find multiple wins to be called. The idea, when we started working with it, perfect. Literally, this was what like elevated us as the agency, because I said, here's like bunch of things that we can test and can find incremental revenue. And we found almost 50% more false revenue within 2 months just by testing all of these things. If you take this test and run and prove all of your campaigns and posts, and you run at least 10 times the same test so you have enough data, you can potentially have a full year of testing strategy just in this particular slide. So this can help you find what works for your brand, build it into the rest of the channels, and then start elevating that across the board. So I don't break you through all of them, but you should definitely focus on some of these tests that are easy wins. For example, the send time probably of the strategy is one of the main ones in terms of a day. Typically, we found that towards the end of the week, we do a little bit more sales, especially Wednesday onwards. With the subject line, you can experiment with questions versus statements. With the from name and preview, this is a really cool tactic. You can use the from name as a subject line. That's going to make your subject line look massive, and it's going to stand out to like inbox. That's a cool trick that we found. Also, your phone names, including the founder and brand. The content structure, you can use plain text versus HTML, and sometimes you might even use it as an email. So you might send it to your, whatever is as a node, and try to do it in 2 different formats and see what prints we sent to the end openers we and then find essentially more in that campaign. And then do GIFs and statics. Again, needles in campaigns. All this is more part through. Like that is the hard job. This is where I can start to take more time. But it's also where you find incremental kicks. So that's the test. And then also here, 34 margin campaigns that you can use, because as I was speaking earlier, yes, the discounts. I've created this little QR code. It's going to give you 150 templates that you can basically steal in place. They aren't Figma, so there's beautiful learning but here not Figma. But all of this devices are pre-made, and you can take the template, has a plus some expo. Year 10, the recent convertible. If you focus just on one benefit, you're going to find a lot of wins because you see good comments about before, which is not what I'm doing today. So I realized that, but it's also what is working in the emails. How it's made is a process demonstration, maybe behind the scenes, some that we give us, showing the actual manufacturing of a product. And that's, for some people, particularly if you remember in the health space, is very useful because a lot of people, especially to get problems, hear about the ingredients and how they're mixed and what really goes in product, what doesn't go in there. So overall, this can go a very long way. And it's got emails, very simple. You can send a pack of email without paying up a piece of product as a little trick. Testimonials, trending now, us versus them, myths versus facts, not from the founders, new in. All these are companies that you can send it to people and, cashing in without having to discount. And then a few examples here. One of these that I really like to is throwing a bunch of posts, and that's recently on that works pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't know what the rest of the company is, so when we actually just show validation to people. In fashion in particular, one of the best things that we found is just showing the colors of a particular product goes a very long way because some people have rehearsals. And then also in the Nectar Institute here, these are the different stages of who you are as a person. So some sort of a self-identification put in the campaign goes a very, very long way. And then this is a case study. So a bunch of numbers, all of them green, most of them, some direct pound stuff, attention to them. But basically, this is how we found within the campaigns, particularly in the first purchase towards that bottom, middle, is that we found still quite a bit of revenue uplift. In this particular case, about 20% year over year. But the main difference was just sending 264 campaigns versus 176 of the previous year. So even if you just send more campaigns, if you take one thing up today, it's probably going to be send more. That's interesting. Then the try stage, this is when all that we need to do is focus on the front-end offer. You need to figure out what really is the best content offer to you. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's only the best of customer, but the goal is really to maximize for that type of behavior. So we are trying to understand what is going to be the LTV based on now a product. And you see that gradually we are moving towards now maximizing revenue per customer rather than just channeling off this engagement in traffic. So with the tri-stage, we're seeing all little rabbits, they're sort of like jumping in and out and knowing they should purchase. And we are now trying to even make it simpler for them. We are trying to say, this is what works for you and for us in a way. And little hint, up on the next slide. What we tested, for example, with this betting company was that even though a lot more people like the $15 off offer, which is on the list, the offer that worked the best for us was doing a freebie. The value of a freebie for people is actually higher and it's cheaper for you as a brand. So freebies are one of the best ways to get higher conversion through the offers while also retaining better margin. And on the right, the second tactic is really splitting your flows in Japan into fleets and customers. Our people don't have the same structure for all the flow that we offer on the car. So just by excluding the offer, using the same creative, when you exclude the offer that you are trying to your leads, is going to help you with your margin. In this case, we basically set an exact same UL between the two brands. And you see that the click rate is lower, the conversion is a little bit harder because we were in the returning customers, but the revenue is actually higher. We buy $600, even though it means to twice less people. So just because we did the discount here on the left, that didn't necessarily mean that it was the best people business. And then this is the front end offer. So again, in Hero, High Sunday, click across this. Pretty much what you can do is you need to isolate your best peak area. Your 365 days LTV will vary based on the first front end product that you're showing. So we see that even though here we have a product that is doing 4% for all in the last 12 months as a first product, it's not the best. But then we start thinking about what does that mean in terms of the amount of customers by that admin value, and it's going to vary on case by case basis. But we are optimizing again. So this is just an example of that. TLDR at the bottom, you see that we are decreasing the time between orders, but we are also increasing the overall conversion. On the left, see the percentage of all the customers that we Apple Pay use. This people, of course, subscribing all the checkout to the platform. So then on the right, see attribution. Generally, we are trying to figure out how we're bringing the attribution of leads work converting here. And then some results. The buy stage, very simple. If you want more people, you try to sell them upfront immediately because you're trying to maximize the AOV. A lot of them are not going to come back. And this may seem counterintuitive, but this is where I actually throw in a discount or some stuff on, or I want people to purchase straight away. Tell them, hey, you just purchased, that was amazing. Why isn't there something else? Here's like something wrong because it's your first time. That's the first sale. Was there more? Just that simple tactic has had there's thousands for like different brands on an annual basis, because now with someone purchase, you know that they're not really necessarily coming back to purchase. So might as well just throw them something in the air and put them on and see coming back. Your second will be post-purchase calls, your large program, more SMS, transactional, and your upsells and cross-sells. And I will go through that bit sec. We onboard them with this structure. A walking flow 5 minutes later. Again, the structure from before. We send the like this is chosen from a customer support. So it's the first time here. This props go really well with what you just bought. So why don't you get this $30,000 in revenue over a year just by adding that to it, and don't really complain. Just because a lot of people are afraid of that. Then we go into here's how you start it up. Then you do here's how you go into our community. And then we decide what is most important to us. So this is when you're going to need to build a home of what makes most sense for your business. It's loyalty subscriptions. Is it SMS as a program? And then we decide to prioritize it based on that criteria. In the upsell and cross-sell, what all we do is find out what is the exact time between different orders and set that up for people. And then rather start testing backwards in terms of trying to decrease your time between orders. And also you want to understand what is the type of behavior. Now, for most of the brands, what I've seen working the most is that, especially in fashion, to be fair, most of the people buy the same pink in a different color. It's a very easy say, you just say, why don't you get 2 or 3, and you can bundle it and save some more money. So by understanding what people buy, you set up your cross-sell to sell to people, especially what they just bought again. And again, this is you splitting the data up and understanding what someone is getting. And then selling you more of the same thing. You don't have to engineer it here for behavior. You're already observing behavior and bringing it in it, the message to push those extra 5-10% people. Some examples: if you're in supplement 6 to 8 a.m. so it take 8 to 10 a.m. gates, like 12 to 6. you just want to start fitting into people's life. If you just bought this workout session, why don't you get our workout program? If you just bought this product, you're typing up topics into bras. And here into, like working out and maximizing performance, here's the why, what, how of the different products. So all the way trying to do here starts fitting into people's lives. And then gradually what you will see is that you're increasing your reputation and that percentage of people purchasing gradually, relatively quickly. These are some of the benchmarks that you can go after. At top stage, keep a refund flow, replenishment, subscriptions, updates, bundler and getting memberships. All that we are trying to do here is make sure that we stay, because half people are really sent to use the follow fit purchase popular again of the previous strategies that we did. And we are trying to keep in here. A refund flow is a very easy fix, which is going to help you understand also could sustain into the brand. Something such as like not every product is a match, a second chance, in your product, and class 4 reason. It's multiple ways to help we all stay into the brand. And just because they refunded something, that doesn't mean that it was, it wasn't the marketing for them. Some engineering in terms of what to prioritize. Again, this is same graphic with different priorities. If you have a subscription program, the people turn off the month on. Yes, no. But if they don't, and that's great. I find exactly when you turn. Today, we need prioritize stations. We want prioritize cash flow. If they do churn, or do we want to, we need to test it from the offer. And if they do decide to stay and purchase with us, they keep on testing gift offers. So gradually, obviously, the move here is testing. And then this is a paid membership program that I absolutely love by Carnivore's Nest. It costs $59 a year, essentially the Amazon Prime of Carnivore's site. A lot of people think that Voyage programs membership, they have to be something free that you buy coins people. That's not really the case. You can get usability as kind of like the new way to do loyalty. So you would get people events, you would get them exclusive perks like minus and cashback. You would give them early access to products. You give them some sort of incentives to referring and on, so that they can be really just like a bigger part of this process. And now this experience is something that you're tailoring to people for Squeal. But it's very different to just keep on sending the same campaigns for as long. And then I'm showing, having, if you out, let's say, even 30% of your revenue, this is potentially $270,000 every single month that at the beginning of the month that are coming for you, just because you have 1,000 customers spend. Okay, I'll get through this month. Understanding Arabelle is probably gonna give you the most in terms of uplift. A few things. Find out the best customers and segment them out into 3 times ends up over average what they buy. Becomes like more revenues at all and recent purchases. All that you would need to do with them to just keep them happy. You highlight very well. Those people are the ones that you need to just push. So free thing, something that you call free price. Again, and all the videos doing here is trying to get them to purchase more frequently. People who purchase frequently, you're trying to grow their revenues, say, spend over a certain amount and get a gift. With the people who, used to be frequent buyers, you try to get them back by saying, hey, there's 35 customers, there's 35 vouchers, $35 voucher, once you're ready, some will be loaded for you. Then also, it does, see the same ideas, plus see how we keep up with change type of messaging.
Oh, let's slide it up for Trayan. So predecessor time, I'm going to ask one question. Does anybody else have a question? No? Perfect. How often are you updating flows from what you designed, right? So the structure of the ecosystem of the framework exists because we want to maybe update creative on an X not cadence. How often are you updating the creative for brands? 6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it once a quarter? What's that strategy?
Cool. When you say that, do you mean updating the creative from scratch, like all the copy, all of the design, or to be honest? So we test repeat as with that. We used to do some sort of like all of the posts we know tests all the time. Meaning all of your abandoned work for cross countries being tested a lot monthly for us. If for a very long time that doesn't work, and we want to up the new scientific round of procedures, just new products. There's some seasonality to the products. Bigger. Something is relevant in the summer and usually those products there. Now winter will change that. So gradually, what we're doing is like we are getting in all of the post projects once a year, once a 6 months. But we are looking into increments at some of the basis to find additional
I think that's important because I know I just saw a lot of segmentation, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things. Trying to feed for yourself. How often can you update the flows within a bubble that you can implement? But obviously, it just shows the upside of how deep you can go down the rabbit pit.
Yeah.
So, appreciate you. Everybody, a lot of love for Trayan.